or when did you start adopting carnivore, and what was your inspiration?
So I started doing carnivore because I had depression for 8 years. I had anxiety. I had inflammation. I have to like think because my list is so long
Mm-hmm.
that that is why I got into carnivore. I have thyroid issues, Graves' disease. I was diagnosed before having my third baby, and I've had gut issues, microscopic colitis, since like my mid 20s. So after so many years of so many things and not getting answers from the doctors, because they would either tell me that my blood work was fine
Mm-hmm.
or they would kind of brush it off. I had a doctor tell me that I was too young to have all these things, kind of like I was making it up. So
Mm.
it just got to the point of, I like to say, I was tired of being tired.
Yes.
And I needed something to change. I had already previously, um, after having my second baby, I had done, got into working out. I got into eating healthier.
Mm.
And I did meditation and grounding, and I did all these things that you try to do to get out of the depression and anxiety, and just, it would help. It helped get me through it, but it didn't stop.
Mm.
And so I had heard about the carnivore diet a long time ago when Dr. Sean Baker was on the Joe Rogan podcast, because my husband watches the Joe Rogan podcast, and
Yes.
he showed me and at the time I was like, this guy is crazy. Why would you only eat meat? Like all the things that everybody thinks.
Mm-hmm. Of
That
course.
was exactly what I saw. And for a while my husband had been telling me like, well, maybe you should try keto, and I just was always, I'm in that health and wellness. I do coaching for home workouts and stuff like that. And so just in my head, I just was kind of stuck with that. You can have a balanced diet. Like you can have a balanced diet and you can get fit. And yes, that is true, because there are people who are fit and eat all the carbs, right? And all the sugars and all the stuff that's not good for you. But for me, it wasn't about getting fit. I had a little bit of the mom pouch that I wanted to get rid of, but for the most part, it was about my health. And so I just knew that I needed to change. And my husband actually started the carnivore diet back in October.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm going to do the carnivore diet. And I was like, okay, let me start looking more into this.
Yeah.
Because I'm already feeding him this. I was already kind of going a little bit more low carb and transitioning. I would have kind of like a carnivore dinner, and throughout the day I would have like more of a low carb breakfast and low carb lunch. And I just started listening to videos, testimonials, listening to, I read Dr. Sean Baker's book, and I just started researching. And obviously, as far as studies go, as you know, that is very hard to find, because they don't want to do the studies on carnivore, which I really, really hope. I know that Dr. Sean Baker is like working on something, and I really hope that they start getting studies, because I think that it's going to be so beneficial for so many people who don't want to do it just because of the studies. But for me, it was like, just like the doctors don't listen to you when you're not feeling good, you have to listen to other people as well.
Yes.
Like you as a person, you need to not be closed-minded and listen like, well, if this person is saying eating carnivore helped fix my depression, or eating carnivore helps me get off my medications for diabetes, or eat, you have to listen to those testimonials. There's something there, right? And so that's kind of like my thought frame. And like I said, I was tired of being tired, over 8 years of depression, couldn't get out of that. Anxiety since I was young, but it just got worse after having my kids. Postpartum was like, the doctor would just tell me it was normal. I had like where they say the postpartum, you kind of just get like really agitated very easily. And the doctors would just tell me that was just normal.
I see. Yeah.
And
sounds
you kind of get tired of doctors telling you things are normal when you know it's not normal.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's not normal to feel that way. It really isn't. Now, is it something that a lot of women go through? Absolutely. And it needs to be talked about. But is it normal? No. Like you shouldn't have to feel this way after having a baby, or even before or after, or men who have depression or anxiety as well, And that's how pretty much I got into the carnivore diet. And I was like, you know what, come January 1st, that is my New Year's resolution. And on January 1st, I'm going to start. And on January 1st, I'm going to create my podcast. and I'm going to journal it and I'm going to document it. And that's exactly what I did, because I knew that that would also keep me accountable for myself, because I think accountability is something like, as a coach, I give my clients the accountability and I'm there for them, but I had to be there for myself. And it was easy because my husband was doing it as well. So I think if you have somebody, you know, a partner that you live with that's not doing it, that can be a little bit hard, because they might be eating all the crappy food in front of you and you're like, oh, you know, that's a struggle. But when you have health issues and it's more about your health than your weight, I think that is truly the key to sticking to such a diet that is so restrictive, because it is, at the end of the day, it's a very restrictive diet. And we spend so long eating a sad diet and thinking that this is the way to eat, and vegetables are good. And there's like just all these stuff that you're like, you start to slowly see what it is. And it's like a big wow moment of, I need to re-educate myself. I need to relearn everything. Like I wish we could, like, you know, like the computer, just delete.
So rewind.
And it would be easier. Right. But
so, I think that's the epitome of like being spoiled by luxury all these years, like for generations, really. So, and trying to like cope with saying, hey, everything we've been taught is a lie, and now we have to completely change our outlook in order to be the healthiest we possibly can. And do we even know we can be that healthy? So, and of course, these testimonies, of course, are, you know, a living, breathing testament to that. You know, you, me, and, you know, several other people. And when you have like a professional medical doctors talking about it too, that's important to, you know, listen to and then consider it at the very least, right? So, I'm not saying to adopt it fully, just try it for like a month, which is usually what I tell people, and say, you know, what was your starting out? How was it starting out like? Well, 2 weeks in, I fixed my sleep entirely, right? It went from like 8 to 12 hours per night with waking up in the middle of the night multiple times to 6 to 7 hours per night waking up fully rested. It was wild. So snoring stopped and all that stuff, and no more inflammation up in here, and it was nuts within 2 weeks. But
that is amazing. I personally tell people minimum 30 days, but I recommend 90.
Yes.
And I'll tell you why, because for me, I would hear that 1 week, 2 weeks in, I feel great. And I'm feeling all these things. And I was like 1 week, 2 weeks in, like struggling. I was miserable. I wanted to quit almost every single day. I literally would talk about it on my podcast. And I was like, okay, I know that they say they feel good. I just need to get through these 30 days. At least like my first goal, I always say make small goals.
Yes.
So my goal was not 60, 90, 100. Like my goal was 30 days. That was it. 30 days. And from there, we would see what I would do. And as I got to the 30 days, I started to not feel depressed. I started to have less anxiety. I started to have less inflammation. So I started to have the brain fog lifted. I mean, I had really heavy brain fog a lot of days, and the fatigue was really bad. I mean, by the midday when I had to go pick up my kids, I was like falling asleep on the way to pick them up. It was really, really bad. So when I started to see all these things lift away, I was like, okay, I was getting close to 30. I'm like, I'm going to do 60. Like my next small goal is 60. My next small goal is 90. And then I rounded it to 100.
It's funny how momentum works, huh?
And then I dabbled in reintroducing foods, trying to just do a little bit more animal based to see how I would feel. And I did find that there were certain things that I cannot have. Like I cannot have pineapple. Pineapple triggered my anxiety. I had inflammation here in my hands, which I was having prior to carnivore, that I felt like it was probably arthritis, never diagnosed, but just, it was always hurting me. And it was really bad. I woke up at 4 a.m. like my hands were like in so much pain. And my anxiety. And so I stopped eating pineapple, and I did it again a couple days, like probably like a week later, just to see if it was the pineapple. And sure enough, and I was like, no pineapple, like ever again.
That's weird.
So it's really weird, because I've always heard like pineapple's like a diuretic, and it's not high in histamines, because I've also, during carnivore, I've also, because I journaled everything, I realized that anything that's high in histamines, like bone broth,
Mm.
as healthy as people tell you drink bone broth, and it is if you're okay with it. But for me, I cannot have it because it's high in histamines, the way that you cook it.
Mm.
And I get like really dry eyes, itchy. Like I just get like an allergic reaction.
Yeah.
So that's why I think journaling when you're starting a carnivore diet, I think that journaling is the best thing you can do.
Mm.
I mean, I wrote from the time I ate, what I felt, my bowel movements, like everything, because that's the only way you're going to know what is okay, what your body's okay with and what's not okay with.
Yeah, precisely. Right. So I remember watching your video on that too, where you told the people that you had the itchy eyes and I think you mentioned the hands too, but it's wild what certain things can do to you when you reintroduce them back into your diet. Like for myself, whenever I like reintroduce vegetables, just in general, I think I had stir fry that day with chicken and stuff, like a massive amount of vegetables, and then the gas was ridiculous. Like, what is this? Like, okay, now I know what this is actually doing to me. So bye. That's what I said.
Yeah, exactly. Then you realize it's not even worth it. It's not even worth it.
No.
People want to like judge and say, oh, you need your vegetables. But it's like, I'm like, I literally lived looking like I was 3 months pregnant. I kid you not, every single night because I used to eat a lot of vegetables.
Yes.
And one of the diets that I even tried was called the gut protocol, where I took out gluten, dairy. Okay. What else was it? It was like gluten, dairy, legumes, like none of that. And it was to, reset your gut. And it was a lot of veggies, less red meat, not as red meat once a week.
Yeah.
And I told my mom, I said, with my microscopic colitis, I said, how is it possible that I like worse? And it was the veggies. Like at the time, I didn't really put it together, but after going carnivore, I'm like, it was 100% the vegetables.
Yes.
And I literally felt like I was pregnant every single night, 3 months. My husband one time was like, are you sure? Like, we got 3 kids. We don't need any more. I'm like, I'm not pregnant, but I'm like, I don't know what's going on. It was like every night.
Yeah.
And it was just, when I went carnivore, that was one of the things that really cleared up fast that I noticed. And I didn't feel bloated. I didn't have any kind of gassiness. My stomach started to go down even because I continued to work out as well.
Same. Yeah.
And it was just amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, it's wonderful results for sure. So you kind of already touched on like the benefits that you've experienced a little bit, right? So what would you say like was the first benefit that you've ever experienced on the diet and just going into it with both physical and mental benefits all around, like the big picture?
Yeah. So physically was the bloatedness and not having that every night. I wasn't in this to lose weight because I was already pretty much, like I had said, eating relatively healthy, working out and doing all the things. So I had already lost a lot of the baby weight from my 3rd pregnancy, but I still kind of had that little mom pouch. And with that started to go down. So that was like something that had never gone down, no matter how healthy-ish I would eat and work out and stuff. And mentally was the first thing I noticed was changing was my anxiety was lessened because I literally would have anxiety every single day and almost all day long. I just kind of worked through it. I have 3 kids. I put a smile on my face, and you kind of just have to like continue your day. And so I would, but I literally lived with it every single day, and my depression as well. And when I started to notice, hey, today I didn't feel sad or cry out of nowhere. It kind of was like that light bulb moment. Like, this is really working because there was not, from my first baby, he's 9. So over 8 years, I was in depression. Yeah. And that's a long time. That's a really long time for anybody to live in depression. I don't want anybody to ever have to live that long in depression. I don't want anybody to live a week in depression. I mean, there was days that I'm like, I never got to the point where other people are, but I could see why people get so deep in, because it's something that people don't realize that you cannot control.
Exactly.
It's not something that you're just like, oh, but think positive. I would meditate. I would ground. I did all the things, right? I have crystals. Like, I'm that girl. And I did everything that you can think of to try other than medication. I did not ever go on medication. Yeah. I'm not a big person to be on medication. I don't think there's anything wrong with it if you have to be. But I just never I would tell the doctors that I felt depressed or have anxiety, and they just never even, honestly, they never even offered it because they would just tell me it was normal since it was like part of my postpartum.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't even an option, honestly. And so, yeah, that was one thing that when I saw that I was no longer feeling depressed, that to me was bigger than the mom pouch.
Yeah, of course.
And the bloatedness.
Yeah, I think that's with a lot of people is that just it's not the weight. The weight's like the last priority really for most people. So especially for myself, because I did have some depression, right? So I never was like diagnosed or never had like medications or anything, but like growing up and getting, bigger. So it definitely had some triggering effects for me. Like I didn't want to be productive most days, would be falling asleep at work and stuff like that. And, I had a lot of those same symptoms, but now I just want to be productive all of the freaking time. Like, I don't know if you feel like that or not, but like my brain just says, do this now, do this now, do this now. So it's pretty empowering. So
yeah, I definitely have more energy than I have ever had. Like this past summer, I talked about it like on my Instagram and stuff. And I talked about how like in all the other summers we would go on our summer vacation, and then most of the time we were home, and I had to literally like force myself to go in the pool with the kids and kind of like go outside. But this summer, I mean, like we went to the zoo, we did play dates, we did so much more than we've ever had because like I felt okay to do it. Like I didn't feel like I didn't want to do it. I didn't feel that tiredness in the midday. I had the energy to do it. And so that alone was also like a aha moment of, oh my gosh, because I haven't felt like that in so long.
Yeah, it's very freeing. Exactly. So,
yeah.
Third, let's see. Okay, this will be a fun one. So, what are some of your favorite meals on Carnivores, and you got any recipes for us? So.
My favorite meal would probably have to be ribeye if I can afford to have it every single day. I don't.
Will you?
But if I could, I would have ribeye every single day. Like that is probably my favorite. I do have a lot of skirt steak. We do eat a lot of skirt steak because it's a little more affordable. It's still a little pricey, but it's more affordable than ribeye. Probably I would say as a fun recipe, I do have one over on my YouTube channel. We do a carnivore pizza. So for those who are super uber strict, they might not want to eat the pepperoni and the sausage, but I do get nitrate free pepperoni and I get as clean sausage as you can get from, we have Wild Fork here. I'm not sure if you guys know that.
I've heard of Wild Fork, yes.
Yeah, so they have a lot of, like their sausages are cleaner than any of the other local grocery stores. Like it doesn't have like all the added sugars and all the other stuff that's in some of those sausages. So I do like to do that. So it's kind of like our little treat for the weekend because we're big UFC fans. And so Saturday nights, like it's like UFC, and it was always like pizza night. And so after a couple months on Carnivore, my husband and I are like, we're missing like pizza night. And I know it's mental, but it just kind of goes. It goes UFC, pizza night, And so I'm like, I'm going to see what I could do. And I started making carnivore pizza. And so that's kind of like our go-to with that.
Yeah.
And
how do you,
you can be creative. I do, there's these wraps called Egg Life wraps that are really good. And taco nights are with Egg Life wraps. I also, even just like a burger inside of that as well. Like, so you can get creative. And I'm still kind of like coming up with different recipes because I also have like a separate Instagram page. I used to love to cook. And so I created a Instagram page before I had my first kid of doing recipes. And then after I had him, because of the postpartum and stuff, and it just became a lot and I kind of stopped. And now feeling good and being in Carnivore, I'm like, I want to share, like, even though it's not crazy recipes like you would do in a normal diet, there's still recipes that you could make and you can still be creative. So I'm coming up with different ones and I post them on there every once in a while. It's not as often because a lot of times I'm just eating ground beef burgers or a skirt steak. Like that's what's on my plate. So it's not so creative, but that's pretty much my go-to.
So that was, that's an older channel, like revived nowadays because of Carnivore. So you're posting.
Yeah, that's just on Instagram. It's called A Girl's Kitchen. And it was just recipes that recipes that my grandfather used to make that I recreated out of like my mom and me putting together of memories, and stuff like that. So I just always love to cook. So I do miss those kind of recipes, and I'm Hispanic, so we make a lot of ingredients and a lot of stuff that I'm not using now. So I definitely am trying to, like, my tacos that I made them just as simple, but I still did the rib beef inside the tacos, and it was still just as delicious. So
delicioso. Muy bien.
Yeah.
So you also speak Spanish, I assume, yeah? So yes, okay, I got you. So I do take classes here and there. So, but all right, maybe one day we can have a conversation. You can test me.
Yeah.
You said it's called a Girl's Kitchen, right? So maybe I can find that
Yeah.
on Instagram, a Girl's Kitchen. Maybe it'll pop up here, and then I will definitely follow that, because if you're uploading some carnivore goodness there, then I'm definitely gonna get that. So
Yeah, I plan on doing like carnivore, animal based for those who want to implement a little bit of avocado, or that's the only thing I've really tested out, and I seem to be okay on avocado. It's not something that I eat every day either, because I just don't want to. But every once in a blue, I'll have a little bit of avocado on the side. I do like it. I do enjoy it. But for the most part, yeah, just meat.
I got you. So
cheese. I love my dairy.
Yes,
love
same.
cheese.
Same. Especially that smoked Gouda action, yo. Yeah, so we kind of touched on this a little bit. So I was curious if you've received any like pushback from family and friends and doctors, and like what do you tell them when they give you that pushback, right? So we kind of touched on that a little bit, I think.
Yeah. So I have not had, I've been probably very lucky. I really stay in my bubble. So I eat at home. I don't go out much in regards to like friends and stuff. The few friends that do know that I've been doing it, I am very open and honest and raw on my Instagram. I'm like the same way on my YouTube channel. And so I've always shared my struggles with anxiety and depression and things. So when going carnivore, I said, this is why I'm doing it. And I think most of them kind of understood why.
Yeah.
They didn't quite understand why I probably have to do something so extreme. They're probably like, you can just eat vegetables and eat healthy, but they don't really tell me anything. I can kind of see a few faces a few times that I went out with a group of the girls, where I literally ordered my burger and told them, just put the French fries on it, and like I'll take them home, because I was like, I don't know what to do with them, but I just want the meat and the bacon. And the lady kind of looked at me a little funny, and everybody was eating all their stuff around me, and I had my burger, and I was like, it is what it is, you know. And with family, I'm very lucky. I think they get it. They've seen it. My mom told me the other day she can see the difference in my demeanor and my face, and she even said like my face looks clearer. I'm like, I don't know if it does, but thank you. And just they understand. They know that I've been struggling for so long, and so I think even if they don't quite understand what carnivore is, even though I've tried to explain oxalates and all these stuff to them that they're not quite sure, I think that they know enough to say this is working for her. So I've been very blessed, because I know that not everybody is that understanding in family or friends. And I have not gone to the doctors. I know that's probably like a bad thing. People would say it has a bad thing. Some people might say it has a good thing. I don't know. I do want to go, actually, because it's been over a year since I had gotten blood work done.
Same.
And so I just want to go to kind of share it on my podcast as well. And also just for myself to see like what's, you know, if anything has changed at all. But I'm sure that the doctors will probably think I'm crazy, because I think it's very hard to find a good doctor that agrees with the carnivore way of eating.
More than likely, for sure. So actually Dr. Barry is just south of me, like I think in about 8 hours or so, like in Tennessee. So it'd be awesome to just go 5 hours. Like he's like 5 hours away. If I could just take one trip per year to go see Dr. Barry and like get stuff done, but that'd be great.
I know. But I'm like, can you do like virtual appointments? I feel like asking him, you know, the telehealth.
Yeah, that would be amazing. So, but
right?
It's very hard to, you know, see those doctors and just, you know, try to explain to them what you're doing, that it's safe and everything like that. And so it's very warped in that profession, 100%. Yeah. So, ever thought about your long-term goals on this thing? Like, where do you see yourself doing with carnivore? Like in the future, do you think you'll stick with it probably for life?
I think I will. I think that I will still. I'll probably be, honestly, I think 95% carnivore
Mm-hmm.
and 5% animal based.
Mm-hmm.
I have done a little bit of raw honey when I make my carnivore pancakes. That's
Mm-hmm.
another recipe that I love.
Hit me up, bro.
And those are carnivore pancakes. 100%. But I do add a little bit of raw honey, which I know some people will say, I've heard it's bee vomit. I've heard a bunch of stuff, but I seem to do okay with it. I don't eat it every day. And like I said, the avocado every once in a blue. So I think that I probably will stick to it at least like 95% carnivore, 5% dabbling in a little bit more animal based. But I think overall, like that's the way to go, at least for me. I always tell everybody that every body is different. There's no linear line for this kind of diet. And I think that a lot of hardcore carnivores will try to drill in your head that this is the only way you can eat. And this is how we should eat. And our ancestors ate like this and all this stuff. And I understand that. But I also think that every individual is different. And you have to see what works for you. You know, a lot of people aren't big fans of Dr. Paul Saladino, but because he's tried different diets. I think I had heard that he was vegan and then he did the carnivore and he wrote the book. And while apparently he was writing the book, he was switching to more animal based. So I can understand why people, you know, dislike him for that. But I also look at it this way. If he didn't try vegan and say that didn't work for me, he would have never found carnivore. And going carnivore with his particular lifestyle for whatever reason in his body, he does better with a more animal based diet. And I think that that's okay too. I know people will tell you that the food is bad and the sugars and it still gives you the cravings of the sweets. And it may for some people, but that's why you have to figure out what works for you. There are people who are have food addiction. And they may not be able to have the fruit because it might trigger them wanting to have sweets and things. And then there's people that do okay with just the fruit and they can live just eating an animal based diet. So I think you just have to slowly work to see what works for you.
100%. So, luckily I was able to kick those cravings a long time ago whenever I started this thing. And then, cause I used to be really bad with it. Like I would be having the sodas and, just eating the blizzards and all that stuff. Right. So, and, now every once in a while, of course, I'll dabble, right, a little bit, but I don't feel like I need to have it directly after that, like the very next day. I can go months without having like ice cream, for example, right? So, but luckily that doesn't, subdue me anymore. So it's pretty freeing there. So, all right, yes. I was having lunch with Mom yesterday and told her that we were having the interview. And I was like, do you have any questions that you're curious about for Kristin and stuff? So she was wondering about electrolytes. Like, how do you supplement electrolytes? Do you supplement? And I was curious.
So in the begining, when I was still kind of having that up and down, I would say I was on a roller coaster in carnivore. I really was. And I had all of a sudden I would feel a little energy and then I would feel this fatigue. And I'm like, what is going on? Everybody says that they feel this burst of energy. And I'm still getting like that up and down of the fatigue. And so I started to do more research and I started to realize, well, maybe I was missing those extra electrolytes, And so I did supplements. I bought a little bottle over on Amazon. I link it all the time in my description in my podcast because it was cheaper than the LMNT and all the ones that people tell you to get that look super expensive. And it wasn't that I couldn't afford it. It was just I am very cautious with my money and I just don't want to spend so much on something that I felt that is not 100% necessary. A lot of people will just tell you to add if you have red mint salt or whatever, or mineral salt, to add it to your water. But I personally don't like to do that because I just don't like salty water.
Same.
So,
not a fan.
I don't know. People like it. They drink it. I have tried it and I can't. So these drops, they do have a little bit of a flavor to them, I will say, but I get like a cup this big and I just chug it. And they really, really helped. Really helped when I needed it. Now I don't really use it anymore. I have it there on any day that I realize I probably didn't have enough salt within my day or enough water because I have always really been bad about drinking my water. And so I've gotten a little bit better with it with being on carnivore because I have noticed that the minute I feel the fatigue, I think, and I'm like, I haven't drank water like practically all day. And the minute I start drinking my water, I start to feel better. So that's a huge thing as well. And I keep the electrolytes there for like a day that I feel like maybe I might need them. But for the most part, I don't even use them anymore. I did need them in the beginning, but not really anymore.
That's wild how that works because like you never would think that you would get enough of what you need just being on a restrictive diet like this, right? So, but over the course of time, you just simply do not need it because you're eating naturally, right?
Right.
So yeah, supplements are not necessary, right? Unless absolutely necessary, right, for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. There are some people that have deficiencies and their bodies just can't hold on to certain vitamins and things that they need. And so they might need the supplement. You can't say like nobody ever is going to need it. There are some individuals that have those cases, but for the most part, yeah, I don't even take any. I used to have like a little old lady pill box, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I kid you not. I call it La Viejita box, which is the old lady box, because I'm so bad with like taking things unless it's like in order. So I would have that little box that had all my vitamins and all the things that I would have to take because my immune system was also really bad before carnivore. Every month around my period, I would literally get sick. It got to the point that I was like, this isn't like after having my third baby, it got really bad. I was like, this isn't normal to be sick every month.
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy. And my throat would start hurting and I would have all these vitamins. And now I only have one vitamin that's like an immune builder that I don't take every day. I only take it if I feel that I'm coming down with something. But for the most part, I've only gotten sick once so far.
And how long?
Which is like absolutely amazing. And even when I did get sick, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I got sick. Like I was like, how did this happen? Because I had been so good without even having to take anything or do anything. And it's crazy to think that such a restrictive diet can give you the everything that you really need. I haven't really, people talk about, oh, you're not going to get enough vitamin C. And I've been good. I haven't even gotten sick.
Yeah,
I feel great. So
exactly.
It's amazing.
I was going to ask real quick, like how long was it like that you didn't get sick? What was your streak, right? Because I have my own streak here.
I'd have to look back at my journal.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I know I want to say that I still kind of like didn't get a full blown cold or anything, but I would start to get like that getting sick phase in the beginning. Probably 2 months, 3 months in maybe. But I know at least for like the last couple months and all summer and everything, like even my kids started to get sick right before vacation. I'm like, we can't get sick. We're going on vacation. And I didn't get sick because when they would get sick, I was going to get sick. Course. Like, because my immune system has always been so bad. And I think it's because of my thyroid issues. Yeah. So that was like amazing in itself that they got sick and I didn't get sick. So yeah,
it's wonderful. So so keep up that streak, yo, for real. So
I know. Knock on wood.
So I'm going on actually like 3.5 years at this point without getting sick once. So I didn't start carnivore 3.5 years ago, but the last thing that I had was COVID back in 2021. And but definitely have not been sick once on carnivore or even felt like getting sick at all. So it's just been a healthy boy this entire time. So
that's awesome. Yeah. And when I did get sick, which was not that long ago, it only lasted like 2-3 days, which also is very rare for me because when I got sick, it like my husband will get sick 1 or 2 days and then he's good. Like he's always been really good immune system. Then I would get it for a whole week. So being sick for only 2-3 days for me was amazing. That was also still a plus.
It's still a plus.
If you want to look at the bright side of things.
Yeah, 100%. You got to, right. Oh, yeah, this might be a rare one, right? So can you pick apart or identify any downsides to the diet, whether it's like temporary or do you think it's permanent? So anything that you can think of, downsides.
So I would say it's sort of a downside. When people get into carnivore, which I already knew that this was going to happen because I had already heard about it on the Joe Rogan podcast and I have microscopic colitis, so I already have gut issues, but you're going to get diarrhea more than likely. Now, I'm in a lot of, like on Facebook, I'm in a lot of like different carnivore groups. So a lot of people will get the diarrhea, which is to let people know is absolutely normal.
Yep.
And you have to play with your fat content, I think, because I noticed like depending on your gut as well, like with my microscopic colitis, I realized if I had too much rendered fat, like if I were to have an 80-20 ground beef and just eat it like ground beef and not in a burger, it would trigger my microscopic colitis. So I had to learn what worked for me, which is why I think it was also a little bit of a roller coaster in the beginning for me. And, but a lot of people go through the diarrhea phase. And a lot of people will also get constipated.
Yeah.
And so I think for those people, you also have to play with, well, maybe you need a little bit more fat. And, you know, it's all just learning your body. Everybody's body is different, like I said. So those are two things that I would say is not a complete like downfall where like you shouldn't do it, but just know that it's going to happen.
Yes, of course.
One or the other might happen, but it's not going to be permanent. And you will start to have normal bowel syndrome. I have had not any issues at all. And actually, which is a little bit of a TMI, but I told my husband, I said, oh my gosh, I've actually been going to the bathroom normal, which for me was not normal because I have microscopic colitis. Yeah. So that is a huge plus in itself because when I was diagnosed with microscopic colitis and I asked the doctor what, you know, he wanted to put me on a medication that had a steroid and I was in my mid-20s. And I said, absolutely not. I said, if I get on that now, when I'm in my 40s, it probably won't even work for me. And then what do I do?
Right.
So I said, can I just take like Imodium if I have to? Or is there like a diet? Like, should I not eat certain things? And he pretty much was just like, well, you know, you just got to see what triggers, more than likely fried food, like the obvious, right? But there was no, at one point, any indication of like, let's try to look at your nutrition and do this to see if it works. Like never once was that mentioned. And so I just literally left the office in my mid-20s. You know, at that age, I knew well enough to know that I didn't want to be on a medication with steroids, but I didn't really know much about nutrition then. I actually, around that time, did keto because of my husband, because he was trying to lose weight. And so I did it more just for like health reasons. And that didn't work either because we were eating a lot of veggies and legumes and things that were still triggering my gut. And so, I think people just have to learn what works for them. And I will say that it's not something that's going to stop me from continuing carnivore. Like like I said, I mean, I've gotten more normal than I've ever been. So I think that you just have to push through the hard. People want fast results. People want a magic pill. People want, they want to lose weight. Tomorrow. People get on this diet to lose weight. And I always tell them this journey is not about losing weight. That's a bonus.
Yes.
This journey is about being healthy and you will lose the weight in time, but slow and steady wins the race.
Yes.
You're not going to lose 50 pounds in 2 weeks. People want it like, it's been 2 weeks and they start like, and I'm like, relax.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, stop looking at the scale. Don't even, I mean, granted for me, it's not about weight, but like even when I was trying to lose like the baby fat weight, I barely weighed myself. Yeah. I'm like, I'm doing the things that I need to do and I know it's going to happen. So there's no point in weighing myself and being discouraged if I didn't lose 1 pound.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. That scale can really mess with your head. You know, I try to preach that to people all the time if they're trying to lose weight, right? So just stop looking at the scale, look in the mirror, take progress pictures, right? At least do that maybe once a week or so, once a month or whatever. But ditch the scale, throw it out if you have to, right? So
exactly.
Yeah, that's going to trigger.
Yeah, I always say before and after pictures, even if it's for yourself, you don't need to share it with the world. Exactly. You don't need to share it on Instagram, on Facebook, like people do, for yourself. Yeah. Because you don't see the difference until you look at those pictures. Because I even, for myself, had done it one time and I was like, oh my gosh, wow, this program I was doing really, like, I got more toned. I got, you know, and you don't really notice it in yourself because you see yourself every day in the mirror. Yeah. Not only that, but feel how the clothes fit you. That's a big difference because you can be losing inches, but not be losing the weight on the scale. And like you said, throw out the scale, just throw it out. And the most important thing is, how do you feel overall? You know, because even if you are trying to lose weight, you're going to also start feeling better, right? So just, it's like, focus on that. That's what you need to focus.
Yeah. It's kind of incredible, like how, many other things that you pay attention to, besides the weight loss, that you say, I feel like a superhuman right now. This, I've never experienced this before in my life. Why do I want to be productive right now? Like, what's going on with my brain? Like, it's just lighting up like a Christmas tree. So, you know, people are really gravitating towards that more than anything, really. So, but yeah, you're absolutely right. It is just a bonus, right? Yeah, you mentioned that your husband was carnivore as well. What about your children? So are they doing a little bit of that? I know they're kids, right? They're growing and everything.
Yeah,
So, but,
I'm not as strict with them, but we do, and I have been already before I started Carnivore. I always tried to find the healthy-ish snacks that I could find. Now learning even more about seed oils and having that allergy myself and noticing that I get triggered very fast with any type of seed oil, I try to find things for them that are seed oil free. So that's really important. And for the most part, yes, they eat whatever meat we're eating. That's definitely like the base of their meal. They still will have sometimes a little bit of rice and beans, but a lot of times they'll have just like some fruit on the side. So I would say they're more like an animal-based diet, along with a little bit of rice and beans here and there. And unfortunately, they do eat at school, and that does not make me very happy. But it's a little hard to just send meat with them to school.
Yeah.
And so I just have to like take a deep breath and bring my anxiety down because it's very, very hard to know that people don't realize all the stuff that they're eating. And I try to teach my kids not to fear food, but to understand it.
Yes.
So they're still very little. I try to explain, what seed oils can do. And I don't go into oxalates and all that because they're still a little bit small, but, I explain to them, our gut, and I just try to like word it in a way that they would understand at their age. They're in elementary, so they're still very small, and just start teaching them like, and my kids, especially my oldest, he loves fruit, and he's actually, because even when they were small, I never gave them chicken nuggets and mac and cheese and candy and stuff like that. So I think that helps, where he, like my oldest especially, he doesn't gravitate towards that stuff. Every once in a while, they had a donut at school or whatever because it was someone's birthday and he enjoys it. But he himself sees the way we're eating. And sometimes I have to tell him, like, you're little, you're burning all these calories too and all these things. And it's a little different. You don't have to be as strict. Yeah. But I love that he still loves to eat his fruit and his, and his meat. And the middle one is the one he naturally has a sweet tooth. So I have to tell him, you cannot have that stuff. Yep. Because it does affect his gut and he does get sick sometimes. And so I have to tell him, do you see what it does to your body? And he's little, he's 6. So
it's hard for him to understand.
He doesn't get it. And he just wants to, have what he can enjoy. But we don't eat that stuff here at the house unless it was a birthday party. I let them have a slice of cake, things like that. But, I have to teach them, because if I don't do it, they're not going to learn, because they don't learn it from school. They don't learn it from friends, because unfortunately, a lot of their friends eat us, the sad diet. Yeah. And I cringe when I have to go to a school event. Yeah. Because I try to take certain things from my kids so that they can kind of eat it. But it's really hard balance for parents. And I know people out there will judge and just say, just don't feed it to them and make them their lunch. And, and yes, of course, there are things that you can do. But as a parent, you also don't want to, it's such a hard balance of teaching them and not putting complete fear and not wanting them to grow up and then going out there and then eating all the crappy food because you restricted them so much, which I see as well when you do that. So you have to have this sort of balance where every once in a blue, we had a birthday party. It's okay to have a piece of cake, but this is how we normally eat. Yes. And just as they get older, I will teach them more about, what oxalates are and all the stuff that can harm their gut and their bodies. And at the end of the day, they need to make their own decisions, right? Because they're going to grow up and they're going to do them. And I can't control that, but I do have control right now as to what they eat here in the house. And so we do limit seed oils and all the extra sugars and stuff. I'm like, oh, this has sugar. No, this has seed oils. So we're working on it. They're not 100%, but we try our best.
Yeah. If you raise good habits, then they're definitely bound to continue for sure, right? Into adulthood. So
yeah, they see me working out. They work out. This is my workout room too.
Yeah.
So
I remember.
they come in here in the summertime, they work out with me, like they see it, and you will be amazed of how much kids are retaining even when you think they're not.
Yeah, when they learn and see you do it, right? So it's muscle memory, so it's really cool. So
yeah,
but I'm a musician, wouldn't know. But hence guitar. But
yeah.
But that's a really good service that you're doing, because I would like to see more of that from many people, not just like parents or anything, but like and just school systems in general, right? Just to have a class that is dedicated to proper nutrition and not BS nutrition. Like, let's stop it. Can we just like take the pyramid and check it out the window? You know, get rid of that thing. So we don't need it. You did mention food restrictions and allergens and certain things like that. So I think you mentioned pineapple. That was a crazy one for me to hear. Like, that's kind of wild. So any other things that are really triggering for you, like allergenically?
So the bone broth, like I said, has high histamine, so that kind of gives me an allergy. And for some reason, I could have bacon, but I can't have pork belly or pulled pork. So I don't know if it's because, so my husband likes to like smoke meat, like real barbecue. And we love it. But when I started to eat the pork belly, since it was in the beginning of transitioning to carnivore, I was eating it, and then I just started to get really nauseous. Like, it would just make me nauseous. And I'm like, man, I don't know why. So I'm like, let me just stop the pork belly and I would be fine. And I'm like, it's the pork belly, but then I would have bacon and I was fine. So it's just really, really weird. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because it's smoked or because it's like, even though bacon, I believe it's smoked. Like, I don't
think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Right? Right? So I don't know. And then the pulled pork, the same thing. The last time he made it, I had just a little bit on my plate. He made brisket. I was okay with the brisket. So it's not completely that it's smoked. I'm okay with brisket. But for some reason, the pulled pork, a few hours later, that same night, I was like, oh man, I feel off. I feel like I'm a little hungry, but I'm not really hungry. I'm nauseous. I don't know what it is. And then when I started to think, I'm like, that's how I felt the last time I ate pulled pork. But since it had been so long, I didn't remember. And I connected it. And so for some reason, I can't have pulled pork.
That is so strange. I don't even know where to begin with, like, what would be causing that, right? So, like, immense amount of fat.
I don't either. I talk about it on my podcast, and I'm like, I want to give you answers, but I have none. Like, it's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing. And I've had pork all my life. I've never eaten it consistently. I'm not a big pork person to eat it like every day, but I've had pork. I mean, throughout my life, I didn't really make me nauseous. And I don't know if it's just that once I eliminated so many things that then it like, I just triggered that or it just showed up in a different way because that's the only thing I'm eating that's changing my other food habits. I don't know. And as far as like when I dabbled a little bit in animal based, I did have blueberries and a banana, and I seem to be okay with that, but I'm so scared to have too much fruit because I do feel that it triggers a little bit of inflammation in my hands, and I just definitely don't want the anxiety. So after the pineapple, I've been kind of like a little scared to try to like really go back into having a lot of fruit, but so I can't really say if anything else is triggered as far as the rest of what is carnivore. Thankfully, I'm good. So, because if not, I would be like, I'll have to be like on the lion diet.
Yeah. So I was going to mention
which
because
would not be fun. I do enjoy my food. For the most part, in the beginning, I could not have just red meat. In the beginning, it would make me nauseous just to smell red meat.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
I was like, I can't do it. I have to mix it up. So I did chicken thighs because they're fattier and I love the skin. I make it crispy.
It's good.
I put it in the oven. It comes out awesome. I would do the cleaner sausage. I would do, what else would I eat? Seafood, a little bit of seafood, either shrimp or salmon. But now I really pretty much just have red meat other than my eggs and my bacon in the morning. Dinner is any type of red meat. And then once in a blue, like the other day, I did shrimp, like meat and shrimp, kind of like a surf and turf. So I'll do
delicious.
that. But
Nice.
yeah, which that I love to do too every once in a while. But other than that, yeah, those are like the only things that triggered me that I found. But I think that's such an individual case. I think that's why it's so important to start in a carnivore diet and then slowly see what works for you, because I would have never like linked those things as something that I had an allergy to or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, how can you, right? So because you're trying to do the right thing, and this is supposed to be on a carnivore-based diet, right? It's animal-based. So how are you supposed to know that that's going to cause something to happen? But I wonder if you're similar to Michaela Peterson, where she talked about pork.
Right.
Is it the same thing? I don't remember what she said her reaction was when she ate pork. It was something. But is it similar?
I don't remember what her reaction was, but she can't eat a lot of things, which is why she does mostly like Lion diet.
Right.
And she's a very, very unique case, I think, because she had so many health issues at such a young age.
Right.
Which is why I think that this is what works for her. I don't think that many people have to do the Lion diet forever. Right. I think they can transition to the carnivore and possibly animal based if that's what the person wants to do. But I think carnivore is like where it's at.
Yeah, 100%. So, but if you have to go that extreme, then by all means do it for your health, right? So,
yeah
she's thriving.
I do plan on doing a 30-day Lion Diet challenge.
Okay. When? Because I want to do it too.
October 1st, if you want to join me.
I will.
I'm doing it with Dr. Fernando Morales, that I met over on Noster, and he's a doctor in Mexico, and he's going to be doing it with us, and it's going to be great too because he's not doing it as medical advice, but he will be giving a free, just checking out your blood work if you get blood work and kind of like helping, check it out for you. So I think that's awesome for him that he's doing that for us. And so I think it's going to be hard for me only because I love my eggs and bacon and I love my cafecito in the morning.
Same.
So those are the three things that I have to slowly, I'm like, okay, now in September, I'm going to slowly wean myself from my coffee because I think that'll be harder than the eggs and bacon.
Yeah, 100%.
And I really only have coffee once a day. I just really love the taste. And I drink only water. So I'm like, coffee's my one little, like almost like a treat.
Caveat.
Yeah. But I plan on doing it because I was talking to him about it, and it goes back to having like the pork allergy and just different things. And I still do have a little bit of anxiety, even though it has gotten so much better. It is every once in a while I get some anxiety, and I still have a little bit of inflammation, like in my knees a little bit and my low back. And so just little things that I want to see if by going the Lion diet and being so restrictive of how my body will change in those 30 days. And then I'll go back to carnivore. But I just want to see. I think it'll be a fun challenge.
Yeah, for sure. I had no idea you had that plan. That's exciting because I've been talking about that too, wanting to do that. So you're doing that September 1st?
October 1st, because September is Labor Day weekend and I go away, and I was like, I can't limit myself on vacation.
I feel you. So
when I was talking about it with Dr. Morales, I was like, we can't do it in September. Let's do October 1st. And he's like, okay, October 1st.
There you go. Perfect. Just get through Halloween, girl. So,
Yeah. That's not a big deal for me.
Yeah, that's good.
And it's 30 days, not 31.
That's true. That's true. So October 31st, that's when I come off. Time to splurge. Oh, man. So, yeah, that's exciting. I'll definitely do that with you for sure because I've been wanting to get that started. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Sweet. All right. We're almost cleared up here. So, let's see. Oh, yeah. This is an interesting one that I came up with like on a whim today, actually. Do you need to be picky about like anything that is like grass-fed against like grain-fed? Like, do you need the best of the best in any category, or does it matter for you?
Nope.
No.
I tell people if you can afford grass-fed, get it.
Yeah.
Right. But if you can't, meat is meat.
Yes.
Like you're still doing 100 times better than the person who's eating like crap.
Yeah.
So I never give that advice. I don't put that pressure on people.
Same.
I think that if you can get what you can get, that is better than not getting it at all.
Yeah.
Also, my husband will have this argument. I've been wanting to get him on my podcast. I really do.
Yeah.
Because he honestly, I tried to like buy even like an 80-20 grass-fed because he loves burgers.
Yeah.
And he will still tell me that it's not as good as like the regular ground beef at like our grocery store.
He's trained.
So I don't know. I did hear somebody the other day, I forget who it was, on Instagram, that they preferred the grain.
Yeah. I've heard that before too.
Than the grass fed. So that there was a different taste to it.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a little bit. I do notice it in the ground beef.
Mm-hmm.
But I do try to get, personally, I buy both. I buy the regular ground beef, and I also buy the grass fed because I do like it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there are more benefits to getting grass fed if you can, but I definitely understand the budget. I mean, I'm a family of 5, so I can't get grass fed.
Yeah, no way.
All types of meat. It's just not going to happen. Yeah. So, and again, I don't like to put that pressure on people. I think that as long as you are doing your best and you're eating meat, that is key.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So it was pretty freeing to hear like Dr. Barry say that at one point, right, in one of the shorts. It's like, even if you can't afford the grass-fed stuff, if you're eating the cheapest of the cheapest, you're still doing, as you said, 100% better than everybody else that's eating all the crap in the middle of the grocery aisles. So yeah, it's pretty wild that you can just be okay with just eating the cheap stuff. So yeah. So people say it has to be expensive too. No, it ain't expensive.
Yeah, I'm like you can get ground beef. You can find if you can't just do red meat, you can get chicken legs, chicken thighs. They're not that expensive compared to other meats. So it's definitely doable.
Yeah. In fact, I think you're saving money because you are definitely not as hungry during the day, right? I eat twice a day, maybe once. It depends. And then I just save money because I don't eat. I don't have to eat certain times. Yeah. So, yeah. So that adds up. Okay. Who are your biggest carnivore influencers? There's a lot out there. So.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. So I would say Dr. Sean Baker. I would say Dr. Anthony Schaaf. If I'm saying his name right, I always like mess up his last name. It was Schaaf.
It's Chafee. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Chafee.
Yes, I love him. I love Dr. Ken Berry.
Yes.
Dr. Kiltz is a great one. And I recently found one. His name is, I think I have it here. Where did I have him the other day? Dr. Abadia.
Oh, Abadia. Yeah.
He's a heart surgeon. And so I really love his perspective because of the fact that there's all these doctors like, oh, Dr. Ken Berry doesn't know. And Dr. Sean Baker was orthopedic. And so he doesn't know. Right. But this guy is a heart surgeon. So what are they going to say about him?
Right. Of course.
And he has great information out there. So he's one that I always let people know as well. And then if for people who want to know about just oxalates, she's not really carnivore, but Sally Norton, really great information on oxalates. So I always recommend her if you're just learning about oxalates and what that can do to your body. And I'm reading her book right now, and her story is crazy. So definitely something to look into.
To look into her.
If wanting to learn that.
Yeah, I don't think I've heard of her actually. Maybe once in passing. She's an MD or a doctor?
She is like, I want to say nutritionist. I forget exactly right now, so don't quote me on that.
I got you.
But her story is amazing because she suffered from, I want to say like her teens, early 20s with like, she even had, I want to say she even had surgery in her feet and everything. Like she had a lot of like inflammation, a lot of issues. And it wasn't until she started to learn about high oxalates and doing a more low oxalate diet that she's now, I want to say in her 50s. And she says that she was able to go, I want to say her nephew's wedding where she had to climb all these stairs. It must have been like in Europe or something. And where she was never able to even dance on the dance floor and do all these things because her feet were so bad. Awesome. And she was able to not only do that, but stand for pictures and dance at his wedding. Yeah. And that was like, whoa, like, from being so many years, she was a long, long time in a lot of pain and other health issues. And she talks about how the doctors, just didn't, there was nothing, they just don't give you, they're not taught the information about nutrition. Yeah. And that is a big problem. And I think that you're starting to see more doctors learning about it and talking about it. And I think that is huge. And that is key into letting the world know that what we are eating is not good for us.
Mm-hmm.
And what we were taught and what we were drilled into our brain since we were little is really not the truth.
Nope. Yeah, it's definitely for profit, 100%. So yeah, it's about that control aspect, people want. But yeah, so as long as we just keep, testifying and making sure that we show our positive results every time, we like find out something new about our health, right? It's important to showcase that. It's like, because whatever you can showcase that health-wise that you may have, another person has that issue, right? And if it can be fixed via this, then it's worth it to try this, right? So,
right. So into it real quick, that was what I thought. I said, so what's the worst thing that can happen by going carnivore, right? Like if you're so sick or whatever it is that your body is going through, and you've already been living like this for X amount of time, and you're miserable, and you've tried things and it didn't work, why not try carnivore is what I tell people. What is the worst thing that can happen? The worst thing that can happen is that it doesn't work.
Exactly.
Because all those people that think you're going to get a heart attack, that's not going to happen in 30 days. Like if that happens, it's because you were already eating like crap, right? So it had nothing to do with carnivore. And so the worst thing that can happen is that it didn't work. Yeah. And the best thing that can happen is that it does.
Exactly.
And that's what it did for me.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I think at this point with the amount of like anecdotes and testimonies and everything, so I think it's definitely, worth it for people to at the very least consider it, or, I don't even think you can even question it at this point, to be honest, in my opinion. So
yeah. I agree, but I always say that saying of you can bring the horse to the water, but you can't make them drink.
Exactly.
I've experienced that in my own personal life with family members and people that I try to explain and good for you. And I'm like, I want to just like grab them and be like, why are you not understanding?
Yeah. No.
And I send them the videos and then I have to tell myself, I cannot control everybody. I can only share my story, which is what I do. And I tell people, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a scientist of, knowing all of the stuff, but I can listen.
Yeah.
And I can see how my body feels, and I can continue to learn through the doctors that are teaching us. And I think that's what people need to do. You just need to open your eyes, open your ears, listen and learn and test it out for yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you're not going to ever know if that'll truly help. I tried with a friend that had diabetes, and they had 100 excuses, and people are going to make those excuses, and you just can't force it on them. They're going to want it.
Yeah, they're their own person at the end of the day, right? So they have to be able to make it for themselves, and you don't really get that like satisfaction of like accomplishing something if you do what someone else told you to do, right? So it has to be you that pulls the trigger, Where can people find and follow you? What are your socials? What are your tags, etc.? So tell them about that if you would, real quick.
Yeah. So I have my YouTube channel, Kristin Carrera, and there is pretty much starts off with my journey, day 1 through day 100, and then I still go in there and tell you how I'm feeling, but I also am answering questions and just going through different things that happen in my life and my journey, and just talking about carnivore and trying to educate, but with my personal journey. And so I have that. And then my Instagram handle is the same thing. It's Kristin Carrera. And I have a girl's kitchen if you want to check that out with the recipes.
I'll be there.
And yeah, that's where I'm at.
Excellent. So yes, I'm going to leave Kristin's socials and everything in the top of the description below. So please check those out for sure. Give her a follow. And I hope you guys enjoyed the content today. So we'll close out here, and then you and I can say our goodbyes after I close the recording here. So thank you all so much, and you'll have an awesome day. Try carnivore for at least 30 days, but 90, right, Kristin?
90.
Get at
yes,
that.
Minimum 30. You have to get past those 30 days.
Minimum 30. So thank you all so much.